Welcome to the Creative AI Show. What do we have this week, Brian?
Hey, Rosh, happy to be here. We are two creative guys talking AI, and happy St. Patrick's Day to you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
so
Scottish, though.
yeah. I'm married in, so it counts for me.
Okay.
I will drink a green beer and all of that. So, but in lieu of St. Patrick's Day, one of the
Hmm.
things I want to talk about is a little bit about how to get lucky with AI. And what
Ah,
I mean by that is, to get a good response and some of
yeah.
the hacks and different things that we do. And then also, I've been having a lot of fun playing with the Pika effects, and actually Kling introduced some of these new features as well. And I want to talk to our audience, the creative entrepreneurs out there that want to make videos for digital marketing, and they want to have a really fun hook in the first 2 to 3 seconds, and they can use some of these things.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you have going on?
All right. So Baidu, they launched Ernie 4.5, and they were actually one of the early folks in the game, but their AI
Hmm.
wasn't that good. But this one is,
Oh
and there's
yeah,
some things to talk about related to it. It's just out, and I couldn't even get on the other day when I tried it. It's just the last couple of days, so I'm going to keep trying to get on to get some details. But I have details about it that I'll share. And
great.
then I want to talk about the web and how AI is affecting it. What are we going to do with the website? And what's going to happen to the web? How is all this going to evolve? How is this online ecosystem going to
Right.
evolve? And that's what I want to get into because I think that's important for all of us as creative entrepreneurs and creatives and wanting to get our work out there and let the world
Yeah.
know what we do.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, Google's been the main player in this world, and we're starting to see that it's losing its prominence, and everything's going to be transferring in different
Yeah,
ways. Well, not
I'm
necessarily.
going to push back on
Ooh,
that, but I
spoiler
got some
alert.
more stuff for you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good, good. Well, we'll stay on the edge of our seat there. I want to know, I always want to know what Google's up to. And again, I dabbled in Google Labs here about in the past week or so and been blown away by the results. So
Oh, it's
they're
amazing.
definitely a big player, and some are saying Gemini 2.0 might even be the best of the LLMs out there right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
very good. All right, so I want to talk about creating some hooks. So, for those who don't know, Pika Effects and Kling, those are both two of the premier names in image to video creation. And what Pika Effects has done, and Kling has followed along a little bit, but what Pika Effects has done is, well, it's Pika, but Pika Effects is a version of it where there's pre-programmed effects that happens.
Hmm.
And they're super fun. If you've ever seen these images online that look like it's 100% real image, and then all of a sudden a knife goes through it, and it's like, ah, it's a cake, you got me. It's
Yeah.
not just that bakery TV show where they try to make stuff into cake. It's actually an AI program where they take a real image and then just cut through. I've had limited results with that, but if you do it the right way, it can look really, really cool. But there's other ones where you actually take this image that's in the foreground and a hand comes in and you're able to squish this image, or you can stretch it or
Yep.
explode it or poke it and do all these different things. There's about 15 different things that Pika Effects has loaded in there, and they're all really, really fun. But it caught my attention. There's this little, it's this like toilet bowl kind of cleaner thing that's been all over the internet with a lot of Facebook ads. And right in the beginning of the ad, I know that this is a plastic little device, but right in the beginning of the ad, without any explanation or anything, the first 2 seconds, you saw the little hands come in and squish this little thing like it was a styrofoam kind of like stress
Yeah.
ball type
Right.
thing. And I'm like, what the heck? No, this thing is, plastic. It shouldn't be this material. And then they dumped right into the ad. And I realized that all of a sudden, instead of watching this ad for 2 seconds, I was now watching this ad for 5 to 7 seconds.
Hmm.
And just think about how much of a game changer that is in this world where we're constantly looking at the analytics of how things perform, whether they be on YouTube or social media or anything like that. And when you get that retention just for an extra few percentage points of the video, that could be make or break a video as to whether or not those platforms are going to send it off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like a pattern interruption. It's it can be shocking, it can be disturbing sometimes, but it creates a curiosity. And in my opinion, it's also a fun way to use AI in a short, tiny little way that you're probably not going to get too much pushback. That's one thing I've noticed a lot with, online, especially ads, is if it's very noticeable that AI was used, you'll get a lot of those comments immediately be like, oh, I don't want this product, AI was used, so on and so forth. But
Right.
you got to pick your battles and, kind of pick your punches of when you're going to use it. And I think Pika Effects is a great way to do that. I mean, I kind of wanted to play with our pictures before and do
Yeah.
like the peel away thing or something like that.
Right.
And
Well,
and
now
just
the
use
your
that.
latest video on transitions, and that's
Mhm.
15 more transitions
Right.
within Pika, and you did a good job going through a number of those.
Thank you.
What do you think of it?
Yeah, transitions was really cool. So it's not just so in Pika effects, you can grab whatever the object is in the foreground. So it could be a
Right.
person or it could be an actual object. Now, Pika transitions, it has to be a person. And I actually did have a fail in that video where I grabbed a mid-journey image of a person, but they were, hyper stylized to have a cat's head. And I wanted to see if it would actually follow the cat features
Yeah.
and do this transition. So what it does is it takes a selfie and it'll pretty much analyze the face 100%. So picture, like almost like a 3D mapping of the face and all the key facial features. And then all its goal is to take that selfie picture and then in 4 to 5 seconds transform itself into this scene. So,
Right.
say one of the transformations was called Mona Me, meaning the Mona Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
where you could take anybody's picture and then in 4 to 5 seconds, it's this beautiful transition to all of a sudden having that person be on the Mona Lisa.
Right.
So, what I like about this technology is that it kind of eliminated the room for error in prompting, and it's kind of a
That's
guaranteed
a good point.
smooth transition.
Yeah.
It's like pre-programmed in. So it's like, you don't have to think too hard about it. All right, I want that transition. I'm going to put in that pre-programmed prompt. And, if my success rate before was like 30, 40%, which is still pretty darn good, my success rate in Pika effects or Pika transitions was like 95%.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Good.
fun ways to do this. I mean, I know you've done in some of your videos. What are your favorite Pika effects or any of
Yeah,
those?
I've played with a few of them. I did a video quite a while ago, and I can't remember what my favorite. You made a point that the cake one never seemed
Mhm.
to work, and I found
Yeah,
the same thing. I tried different things with the cake, and it just didn't work out. But there are a few in there that can be fun if you hit it just right. And
right.
right, quite honestly, it really just depends on the image.
Hmm.
Combination of the right image and the right effect. And when you play with them over time, you start to realize, oh, this is a type of image I need for this type of effect to work well. And
Right.
that's what I
Yeah, I think
discovered more than anything than a favorite, I guess.
with the cake that I noticed is that sometimes if the object within the image is a little too large,
Hmm.
the knife is used to going through a smaller type object. So if that
Right,
object's large, the knife kind of looks odd and then finally gets through the object.
right.
So, but yeah, like you said, it's finding the right image for the right effect and making it work. Towards the end of playing with transitions, I started to get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And I had one that was like a 1970s kind of like model type
Hmm.
actress,
Yeah.
with the typical 1970s flowing hair. And I'm like, all right, let's do this one where all of a sudden it shows her like in a dress at a premiere. And I'm like, this one I know is going to look good. And sure enough, it kind of ran with it. Besides a little funny hair glitch that was in there,
Yeah.
outside of that, I'd say
I
95% it
thought
was
her neck
awesome.
was a little too far, over too. I thought that was a little
Twisted,
odd, but
yeah.
yeah. But yeah.
So, but yeah, it's fun when you get the right images and you learn. And again, that's what the AI directors in the future are going to know, which tool to use and where to go and which image to try to grab. And just realizing that also when it's time to grab these images, yeah, you can grab a real image even from your phone and email it to yourself and upload it and do what you have to do. Or you can go to Midjourney, or you can go to Leonardo, or you can go to Dolly, or go to Grok. And all these different ones, they still work with these programs like Pika or Kling pretty
Hmm.
well. So it's, combining these tools and finding what best formula works for you.
Yeah. Finding the best combination. Absolutely.
Yes. So, all right, we'll throw it back your way. We're not talking about Bert's favorite AI. We're talking about Ernie
We're
today.
talking
Ernie
Ernie. We're talking
4.5.
Ernie 4.5. And, the thing is, well, where you can find it, it's YIYAN dot Baidu, BAIDU.com. And that's a search engine. It's a Chinese search engine. It's been around
Okay.
a while now. And they jumped right into the game and really went nowhere. But now they have a new one that is it the reasoning model is solid like your deep seek and so forth, but it's about it has a high EQ. That's what they really were aiming for. It understands satire,
Hmm.
comedy in a sense, and understanding memes. So it has this EQ, this it understands the almost like a person who gets uh, who understands the people around them, who he can read the room, and
Right.
this model can do that too. And but it's like 1% of the cost. So they really keep doing this kind of a thing over and over again, doing
Right.
it a little bit better. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're not taking some of the, say, OpenAI technology or training
Right.
or using some of those tools, but the Chinese are doing these things better and faster. And so this is another example of this. And I think we're going to see more and more of this, and it's going to go back and forth. We're going to see this with the AI agents, and we're going to see this with all of the platforms, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see where we end up. Have you tried any of these newer, if not Ernie, but any of
DeepSeek
the,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I played around with DeepSeek. I was a little underwhelmed by it, but I think I wanted to be
slow
underwhelmed by
right
it.
now?
Yeah, it's slow, and I didn't find the answers that creative or clever. I think sometimes with its country of origin, maybe it's a little bit limited as to how much it can say or how clever it can be. So I'm interested in this Ernie, but I feel like every one of these AI programs is just one update away from being the next best one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like
It's
these
daily now.
updates. Right, yeah, exactly. It's like just watching a boxing match, and it's just blow by blow. These are happening back and forth, and like we've talked about, it's how good can they get for what our simple humanistic needs are.
Right.
We're just these simple machines, not these fancy ones like this. So, I mean, I keep reading articles about AGI, and just how each one of these iterations gets us that much closer to getting to that final step. And now they're even saying 2026, 2027.
Oh, I can see it. I
Yeah,
mean, if we just
it's
look at
accelerating.
the agents now and what the agents can do,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the next upgrade to operator because operator's not that. I mean, although I don't have access to some of the newer ones, but I do have. Well, with that said, they did do a big thing. Um, OpenAI released the API for their
Hmm.
agents. So you can start making your own operator, I guess. So maybe that's what I need to do is start using it. And what I hear, it's pretty easy. I have access. I just
Okay.
haven't, jumped into it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's a back and forth slugfest, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
What do you got?
Exactly. All right, so it is St. Patrick's Day, so I want to keep it themed on that a little bit. I want to talk about just how to get lucky with AI. Now, all right, when AI first came out, I felt like every answer was a little bit of treasure at the end of the rainbow. I was just like, "Are you serious? I can get this whole blog kind of fleshed out. I don't even have to, I can go back in and look at it, but I've already got the ball rolling this far." So I felt like every answer was a bit of a treasure. But as now we're expecting more out of our AIs, not every answer do we think is a bit of treasure. And we have some ways that we want to keep on kind of peeling back to kind of get better answers from our AIs. And again, this is more just on prompting theory, really, on how to get better responses. So one of my first ones is to these are all going to be St. Patrick's themed, so we'll call this the pot of gold. So
Okay.
we're going to show the full treasure map. So instead of just asking your AI, give me marketing tips for this, really ask a better prompt out of it and show the full map. Say, all right, give me 5 ideas for Reels to help boost spring sales for this object in this area, in this market. And you got to show it the full map to get a better answer and get that gold from it. So, that's the first one there. Asking your AI to take on a certain persona. This is something that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
But think about it. There are infinite numbers of personas. So one of the common ones I'll see is act like you're a marketing expert,
Yeah.
act like you're a social media manager, and those ones are still kind of surface level.
Can
But
can
I
I
like
throw
some
something in
suggestions.
here that's
Yeah,
really
please.
interesting? So I have a friend who has a couple bosses, and she each one's more creative side, one's more corporate business, and each one wants responses differently. And
Right.
so
This is
she
great. I know where this
has
is going.
set up. So when she writes, it either edits or writes in the
Yeah,
tone that boss wants to hear, and they're loving it.
I
So
bet.
it's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody has the same communication style, and some people just want the
Exactly.
facts, some people want the fluff, and I
Yeah.
don't want to write 2 emails. But
Right.
and that's great. I mean, I have definitely one of the things I'd say one of the top 5 things I use ChatGPT for is I'll write a whole email. I'll
Hmm.
pop it in and say rewrite,
Yep.
but I haven't thought of like rewrite for a engineer or
Yeah.
rewrite for a owner of this business, or I can even create the personas in ChatGPT for it to save and be like rewrite this for
Yep.
John
Yes.
and give
Exactly
it
what it.
in the
Yeah.
language that John wants to hear it. So yeah, that's a great way to make it take on a certain persona because you're writing for a persona.
Yeah.
So,
It's St.
if
Patrick's Day.
John,
Write like a leprechaun.
right, exactly. Well, yeah, this one, I write it like an Irish pub owner giving advice on whiskey. It's exciting.
Nice.
Like they know they've got a wealth of knowledge. They're excited to talk about it because it's what they love. You assume. So that's pretty fun. All right. So sometimes, and we've both expressed this before, that we get stuck in feedback loops where we kind of get the same answer over and over again, and
Sure.
it's based on not just the question we've asked, but the totality of the questions we've asked up until that point.
Hmm.
So sometimes you got to just wipe the slate clean
Yep.
and start with a fresh perspective. Or sometimes I'll even close it down. I'll open up a new chat GPT. I'll say, hey, treat this like a brand new conversation. Assume nothing else I've said before. Now
Yes.
give an answer. So that's
Yes.
just a good way to kind of break out of it.
Hmm.
It's always good to give a backstory to get a better response. So as much information as you can give. I often like to put in links to websites that I'm referring to. If I'm talking about a specific client, I'll
Ah,
put in a link and say, hey, analyze their website so you know a bit about them. And now, now that you've assumed their persona, let's go on forward for that. Um, One of the last ones here is to dig for more gold, meaning refine, refine, refine. If you want to make something punchier, make something funnier, you could do many iterations of it to get the answer you want. And oftentimes, if a response is wrong, I've, replied to the ChatGPT or Gemini or anything and be like, no, you're wrong. Here's the answer. And that's part of the refining process is to educate it. And it's part of the process where we need to still be humans who know what the heck we're talking about to tell the AIs that they're wrong.
hmm.
And then lastly, understanding the strengths of each program that you're dealing with. And we deal with this a lot with our YouTube videos, with our image to video. There's, at least 10 different programs now that we've tested. That number might even be low at this point. And each one of them is good at a few specific things.
Hmm.
And really understanding and having your finger on the pulse of that will break you out of getting a bad reply. There's nothing worse than using the wrong program to try to animate a figure. And, for example, Runway is great at being the director who moves the camera around a scene, but
Yeah.
it's not great at being the director to tell the figure in the scene what to do to look natural.
Right.
Whereas Kling is very good at telling the figure in the scene what to do. So, you might even use one or two programs to try to edit these, different things to try to get the right response to where it's like, all right, I want to start this scene with the figure relatively still, but the camera establishing. And then when that scene's done, I'll take a screenshot from that, put it in Kling, and then make the character move.
Mm.
So, there's ways to, use both different programs to make this work. So that's my last, bit of advice to get lucky when you're doing image to video. It's just know that you don't have to be stuck into the output of one program. Now, this might cost you multiple subscriptions, but realize that you're still probably going to be way less in cost than it would be to have, spent the time to actually animate and do this or set up scenes and shoot it. Know that you're still way ahead of the cost curve when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So, I know I appreciate you giving me some back and forth there on some of the prompts that you like, but yeah, what are some of the ways that you get stuck or try to get your lucky response?
I think that I have learned, especially in the last few weeks, I've really been doing some pretty deep programming to just start new with the a new ChatGPT. Just start with a blank page, get rid of all of the old tokens that are in that page, so it's not reaching back in the
Right.
conversation and applying something that doesn't need to be there. And I think that's really the biggest thing for me. I honestly despite the knowing that deeper insight is probably more helpful, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to prompting. I
Okay.
really am. I
Yeah.
my prompts are generally very simple, one sentence and not that descriptive, and kind of let the AI go and then make corrections along the way.
Right.
So
Yeah. The refining, that's part of your prompting. So don't sell yourself
yeah,
short. You
yeah,
start, see where it's at, and that's your style of interacting with it, really.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
But also, thing to think about if it's holding on to all of these past conversations and everything in this kind of erroneous information that doesn't have to do with the output you're looking for, it's a higher propensity for it to hallucinate and pull
Yes,
from some of that information and give you a response that might not be correct.
right. No, very
Yeah.
true. Very true.
So, all right, throwing it back your way for your final topic here. Want to talk about the internet and all the
Yeah.
ways it's going to
So
change. What's going
what's
on?
going on? What's
Buckle up.
happening? And people, I was actually getting last few weeks was getting a little down. It was actually in the mindset, when we were first talking about this and, you're saying, this is all taking over and Google's going down. And I was kind of in that mindset. So, I only pushed back because I've kind of got there's a new report out. And do you know if Google actually increased or decreased over year? You have a sense?
My guess would still be increased, but not
Yeah.
at the same rate that it increased previously.
It increased 21%, and that is huge. That is a huge number when you think of how big Google is.
So
So
this is 2024 versus 2023?
Uh, yes.
Okay.
And so I mean yeah, because I think the survey was done over the last few months.
Okay.
So it's amazing that it still has its growth. And I think to your point, Google is jumped back into the game. They were
Mhm.
late to the game, but they
Right.
just released the AI area that is available to everyone now for free. The updated Gemini, hugely
Right.
customizable. I mean, they're really going to town with a lot of amazing stuff. Stuff that we've been playing with in labs is now
Hmm.
available to everyone, and they're saying, "Wow, this is some pretty cool stuff."
Yeah.
Now, here's question number two for you: models in Hugging Face. How many AI models do you think are there?
Ooh, LLMs,
Everything
everything. I'm
that's
gonna go
hosted
with
over at Hugging Face.
we're in the tens of thousands world.
Wow, we are well beyond that. We're at 1.5 million models, AI
Whoa.
models.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so the point being is that there's a lot to choose from and a lot of models that do some, you know, work with statistics, some work with data, some are LLMs, some are image to video, text to video,
Okay.
image to text, all that. And so we're getting more involved with the AIs. People are getting more comfortable with AIs, and yes, people are adapting to AIs more and more. And a good chunk of people use ChatGPT and
Hmm.
Claude and Gemini. So you think, yeah, okay, what's going to happen to the web? Well, the web, if you think about it, what are the last three letters of your website?
We have a .com website.
Right. And what does com stand for?
Communication, I hope.
Commerce.
Commerce.
And
Ah,
so
okay.
it's all right. I'm old school.
Hey, I can tell
Commerce
you what
net.
WWW stands for still.
Very good. Um, so it's commerce. And so the thing is, and if I'm wrong, that's what I always thought it was. So correct me if I'm wrong, but
Hold on,
I'm
I'm
pretty darn
asking
sure.
ChatGPT while you
Yeah, you
chat, so
you
I'm just
figure
gonna
that
let you
out.
know.
Yeah, might as
Yeah.
well correct it in real time if I am wrong. But I've always worked as commerce, and that's where the web is going to ultimately, I believe,
Commercial.
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 Okay, there you go. I always thought
Aha.
commerce, but commercial. Okay, good. So on the right track though.
Yeah.
And so the point being is that's what the web will be. You'll still need a website
Hmm.
because that will be your representation.
Right.
People won't surf the web like they used to. They're going to surf social media for the interaction. They're going
Hmm.
to they're going to ask the AI for general questions. They're not going to go to Google. The Google it is not going to be so much a thing.
Right.
I mean, you're going to Google it to find the plumber, the electrician, the nearest restaurant that serves certain food. It's going to be commerce or commercial again, and that's really what it was designed for and should continue to be there. So more of your traffic will be actually prospects versus people coming through looking for just general information. Because if they want the general information, they'll just get it from the AI or ask
Hmm.
a friend in social media. And so in the future, you will have to be active in a lot of places. It's going to be important for you to be a part of social media
Yes.
because the AIs are going to take from that. The
Hmm.
AIs are going to need that information. Now, one thing that was made me feel really happy um, was that part of this survey, and I think it was Similar Web is one of the surveys, the main survey that I was looking at. They released that recently. Is that Google still is best at search. And if you
Mhm.
want to find something, you need to Google. Go to Google. The AIs ultimately really are not so good at search at this point in time. I mean, they get things wrong a good percent. We're talking getting it right 9% of the time, 15% of the time. The big ones were getting it 20% of the time. And, Google was 80, 90. They are so good at search. They've been doing this for so long that made me feel good because obviously being a Google company.
Right.
Last thing, branding. You need to brand. And back to that conversation about, being on social and so forth, that is going to be a bigger part of the internet because again, the internet being commercial based for the most part, uh, will depend in brand and people talking about your brand in social media, brand being listed in different places and in media is going to be important. And
Right.
so having a branding campaign, not in the past, we mostly focused on what is someone going to put in this search engine um, that in which your company solves the problem.
Right.
They don't know your company, but and I would say don't worry about your company name. Google will know where you are, but it's becoming more apparent in the last, especially couple of years, that you really have to develop, even as a small person, on branding. What are you
Yeah.
seeing in social? How have you been approaching this? Have you thought this kind of where is the internet going to end up kind of a thought be?
100%. I've seen kind of a bounce back in the relevance and importance of social with this. It's actually become part of our sales pitch in the last couple of years. We're not just facing SEO, we're facing GEO, generative engine
Yep.
optimization.
Yep.
And with that comes your reputation. And I no longer sell our social media services as website traffic and brand awareness. I also include reputation management.
Sure. Sure.
What people are
Absolutely.
saying about your brand, about your company, it's more important than ever because your reputation needs to be good for the
Yes.
AIs to recommend you.
Yes.
So, yeah, your Google reviews, again, are always going to be important. They're one of the paramount ones, but your reviews on the social media pages and
Yep.
your interactions with clients and how well and how frequently you're posting. If you are one of those companies that just, will post 2 or 3 times 1 month, you'll skip 2 months and then maybe post once because you had an event. And,
Yeah.
I see this all the time. I tell people, I'm like, those are the companies that we work with best because we are able to provide quality and consistency. And that's what these AI,
Yeah.
engines are looking for. So before this becomes a sales pitch for my company here, we'll divert away from that. But yeah, it's more important than ever to be active on these platforms. Facebook's more relevant than ever. Our stats are actually are in terms of quantity of people we're reaching and website traffic,
Hmm.
they're consistently going up still.
Yeah.
So it's not like people are leaving these worlds. This is how people internet now.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point, I was looking at the new year thinking I'm going to start to lose a few clients. You know what I've had more than anything? I had a client last week, had him for a year. We had a tough time growing. They have a device that, in a sense, takes away from the medical field, like it shortens time of recovery a big
Hmm.
way. So people don't want to use it. I mean, professionals don't want to use it because they can't bill as much when they use this machine.
Ah.
And so it's a tough, yeah. So they can't partner
Yeah.
so easy. It's really
When you're
good.
fighting, big pharma here,
Yes,
that's an
exactly.
issue.
But it's really good.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, we spent the first 6 months trying to figure it out, and then we figured out a good plan, and now it was a year, and I'm thinking they're offing me because they've offed everybody else because they just can't. It's not so much. It's like they come and say, well, let's try this advertising or that advertising. It's like advertising is not the problem. You can't convert because
Yeah.
it doesn't isn't covered by insurance and it's expensive. Well, we got it. And so we had that 1 year meeting. I'm thinking I'm done. And it turns out they're thrilled. Everything
Okay.
Google is working great.
Nice.
The quality is going up and so forth. And I have a meeting with somebody else today who exactly
Hmm.
that is want to increase Google. And I'm like, okay,
All right, good.
yeah,
There's some hope. Yeah.
I think the quality is for commerce in general and commercial use on the internet is just going to be better because you're going to you're going to start to see traffic on websites going down, but the quality going up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. People are getting their information and back and forth from just using the AIs, but when it's actually time to make something happen to convert, then they're going to go on Google and find it and they're going to be more intentful instead
Yeah.
of somebody trying to find information on Google and just kind of shopping around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. So traffic down, but conversions up, and that's a win-win for everybody, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was good. Yeah, I felt good about it. And so, yeah, so that's what we have this week, Brian. Any other thoughts as we kind of wind up the show?
To be honest with you, my thoughts are with the Irish pub that I'm about to be at in about an hour 15. So yeah, I think we're gonna keep pushing these videos up on the. Please, everybody, like and
Yeah,
subscribe on the YouTube if you haven't. We're keeping just trying to get as much information, all the latest updates on these programs out to you. And until then, we're two creative guys talking AI.
absolutely. Hey, I would suggest creative guy in just a few hours, a super creative guy
Yeah,
with
at
a
least I'll
fight in
think
his
I am.
hand.
Oh man, as soon as whiskey in the jar comes on, buddy, that's it.
All right. Have a great week.
All right, bye everyone.